into those champions as well. So Poppy gained a lot of value, but now that champ is gone. Let's see how the bans change for KC. Prior, they banned away Kalista, and they also banned away the Vi themselves. Now Draven makes its way onto the
So
board.
the Draven ban to me says they really want to go for the Kalista first pick. Ashe was kind of the answer to her. Now with the changes, less so to Kalista, but Draven's still like the premier AD carry into Kalista, but
Yeah,
it's going to be banned away.
Yeah, immediately at G2, I think it makes the most sense. We have lost 2 of our 3 most played junglers. We've lost our 2nd most played top laner so far, a couple of the most played AD carries as well. So we are already starting to move into the less seen portions of League of Legends, or at least of LEC League of Legends. There's the Zyra band away from Skumond, his most comfortable champion, it seems, alongside the Pantheon in winter 2024.
So you'd imagine it'd have to be the Vi ban then to try and force us into a bit of a deeper territory when it comes towards the jungler picks, because if you get the Vi here, it's very easy to open up with things like the Kai'Sa and that for Kalista on that bottom side and set things up for a nice dive composition.
I was going to say, they might be willing to give over the Vi just because they are more than happy to play things like the Xin and the Wukong into the Vi as a response.
Yeah.
But KC, what is their first pick going to be? They've got a lot of hovers, and it looks like they are just going to stick with the Vi. We talked about with the Poppy already gone now, then that was a typically good answer that you won't have available to you. Will they look for something like an AD carry matchup alongside the Wukong? Again, the Xin also just very powerful early game junglers that can match and skirmish against the Vi.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to get something like a Kai'Sa for Kalista. Like this Vi Kai'Sa pairing has been incredibly strong. So I'm curious exactly what you want to try and opt in towards, because my guess was if you are predicting that the Kai'Sa is going to come out, you could immediately go for something like the Caitlyn. We've seen it in LCK and LPL to a certain extent, where you kind of go, hey, we're just going to go for this heavy push, and there's very little that you can really do to stop us when you've already opted into this short-range AD carry. But we'll have to see if that is going to be the game plan for G2. As right now, it just looks like Aurora plus probably the jungler that you were talking about, Betty.
Oh,
Okay.
they're going to lock the Rel in for themselves.
I mean, LeBron has such a good game on the Blitzcrank. Give him something he's really comfortable on again. You know the Poppy's not available. KARMINE Core could look for something like the Alistar if they want a direct counter to it. They can also go, you know, towards things like the Rakan or the Leona if they just want a little bit more engaged for their team. Rakan works really well with Vi because she's already CCing someone for you. Pyke is the current hover, but I think something more comfortable like the Victor for Vladdy makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, Vladdy's already had several good games on it, and it's also the fact that Azir is kind of the one champion that can match his range, the Q range in lane, so it makes things way easier then for Vladdy to be a bit more of a bully on the Victor. And there we go, that Alistar answer into the Rel, just to try and keep at least Lebrov a little bit more honest.
Yeah, Victor hasn't lost on the, Vladdy hasn't lost on the Victor yet this year, 4-0 on that pick, so very comfortable for him. G2 now likely looking towards their jungle, otherwise it's really going to get pinched going into that second phase. You already have good engage, you can just look for a tank, you could look for something like the Wukong or the Xin, or you could try and get rid of some AD carries going into the second phase and accept that you're going to be pinched a little bit in the jungle pool.
It's a little weird for me though, because usually when I see the Kai'Sa, I want something like the Nautilus to come alongside it, so that then I'm able to go for that point-and-click CC. Kai'Sa's able to hold some follow-up, and we've got these easy fights to try and work with. But Kai'Sa hasn't really been the back-to-front AD carry that you would consider, but that's basically what it feels like to me G2 are going to be trying to play within this sort of situation. Sure, you'll have some mobility where the Aurora ends up accessing the backline, you can try and play through it, but it still doesn't feel like the traditional one. So I am curious what Skumond is cooking to try and answer for that essentially like backline dive that we traditionally see Kai'Sa.
I really think the Wukong is the prime suspect for me. With the Xin already taken away, I'd be surprised if they didn't ban the Wukong, like Panth, Xin, Wukong. I'm trying to think of other junglers that you could maybe be afraid of, but I mean, like, you're really getting deep now. You're kind of moving into the kind of mid to lower priority jungle engages. Some of the other strong AD carries are going to be taken around the side of G2. Corki and Xayah both make a lot of sense. Also means we'll see something for Kalista that he hasn't played this year. He's played Varus, he's played Ezreal, Kalista, Draven, and Kai'Sa. And they're all gone, obviously, because we had the Varus and the Ezreal in game 1.
Corki and Desire band away, and there's the Wukong as well, alongside that Sin. So we are falling into kind of secondary tier for G2 in the jungle if they want that engage. They could look to engage top as well. With Alistar already locked in, you could go for something like an Ornn for your long-range engage.
You could also go for something like the Lee Sin for Skewmon in the jungle. Like, it beats the Vi early in the kind of levels 1 to 4.
I was just about to say Jarvan.
Okay, yeah, Jarvan works as well, yeah, because again, it's just that you want something that can threaten that backline, and J4 does exactly that. Opens up Kai'Sa to go for Nocturne. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of frustrated that I forgot about Nocturne.
Yeah, you don't play him anymore, let's be honest. You're in a Carly one trick now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great dive champion. I think that already G2 have very strong AoE team fighting tools. KC right now have a decent amount of pick potential. I'd love to see something like a Twitch.
So this was something that Targamas and Kalist actually played a lot of in EMEA Masters, more so with things like the Senna alongside it, but definitely something that's in Kalist's wheelhouse. But he's just going to go for the Zeri. The other question for me is, are we definitely sure this Aurora is going mid? Because there is always the opportunity to flex that top, right? And you can still go for the Orianna in the mid lane as well. And I think that could also be something here where you still get that combo, which is why I was a little bit nervous about Kalist over things like the Twitch. I think KC spotted it out as well, that you could always have that execution threshold that you're just going to have to try and match on that Nocturne Orianna combo.
If you have a low mobility AD carry, it's so easy for Nocturne Orianna to catch you out, right? Zeri has a little bit because she can just surf over the walls, a little bit of mobility at least. And you have the disengage possibility of an Alistar being there as well if you get through the spell shield immediately on the Nocturne. We'll see if the Aurora goes to the mid or to the top. I mean, Galio can also go top lane.
I mean, I think the Galio pick is just so perfect here, not only.
Right, especially after last year where they really spent a lot of time working on their mid-game. KARMINE Corp fell foul of both the early and the mid-game in Game 1, but here they have the chance to strike back and give us a series on our hands. It's not been the easiest route across the last couple of years for KARMINE Corp, but this year has definitely been an acceleration of their skill, of their level. And I'm waiting for the runes to come up. Oh no, the QR code thing's going to come up first. I expected the runes, guys! You can join the LEC on WhatsApp. There's updates, there's news and opportunities to join a special fan vote celebrating the best winter split moments. It's a bit of a fight on screen. Caps is going to be able to get away. Be sure to scan the QR code on the screen or search for LEC under updates. Just click on it. Skewmon's caught out as well, but he should be fine. He'll be able to walk away.
So while you're scanning,
the runes!
while you're scanning, while you're looking at the runes, just to recap, what I really wanted to see coming into this game was KC fighting G2's level 1. They do this all the time. The delayed invade into the Raptors to gain some control and a bit of an early advantage in the jungle matchup. This time around, KC was ready for it. They wanted to try and push them back. They got a bit of chip damage down. They were able to get their own ward on the enemy Raptors, and they'll be able to better track Skewmon. So this time around, Yike has full control over his side of the jungle, and KC gonna push G2 back from finding those early advantages.
It does mean we'll also just get kind of standard lanes now across the board, so nothing too funky. I think for Broken Blade, you definitely want this matchup because it's so strong. The fact that you're able to get this magic shield, able to push in against the Rumble, and then again, having that access once you get to level 6 makes your team fighting impeccable as well. So pressure on KC to try and find some success, but you're waiting to, well, for Yike, I think you can try and punish before Skewmon hits that level 6, try and get into the lanes, because you know Skewmon is just going to be eating every one of his camps to try and get that ultimate available as soon as possible.
We saw Lebrov there sitting in the dismounted form for a little while. I quite like doing that on Rel, especially if you think you can get the 2 first, because it's so much easier to land the flip back into the stun, but because he wasn't quite sure, he then remounted to get back, so he has the shield if the Alistar goes in on him.
Yeah, also because you get that increased auto attack range, it makes it very easy to just continue to harass Targamas, where you can poke him down outside of the potential of a pulverize or even him being able to trade back. So nicely done by Lebrov. And now it's just a case of, well, with the level 2 hit, where's Skewmon off to?
Krugs. A disco at Krugs. He might even just look for the smite here. He's going to sneak his way around. He'll be there in time. Yike lands a good smite. Skewmon here. Looking for the chase onto his enemy jungler. It's just going to force him out. Does have the fear. There's a blast cone there. Yike will get to it. He escapes. He can come round to the Krugs now. His bot lane is just catching the wave, but they can move first. So Skewmon decides to give up the ghost on that, knowing that he would be outnumbered, at least in the short term.
Which is actually great for Yike, because Skewmon then invested time to try and come across here. You can see he still has 3 of his camps up, whereas Yike has made his way through, so should be able to take this, reset, go in, pick up the the camp that he left on his top side, and then move in towards the Scuttle Crab without much of a contest. So I think you're actually relatively happy as Yike that this happened.
Yeah, I like the adaptation that I feel he made after seeing that. Well, I mean, the ward that you can see on the Raptors, I feel was the indication that he was like, okay, I've got to shift my pathing, got to move quickly down to the bot side, and I think you're completely right, Dagda, that he's been able to stave off this early planning from G2 to great effectiveness. Meanwhile, in the mid lane matchup, you can see that Caps looking for those early trades. I think that with the changes to Electrocute that happened on the most recent patch, we are of course playing on 25.3. You just have a lot more upfront damage, and I think it works beautifully with this Aurora, and Caps is really trying to leverage that, but Vladdy leveraging his range to trade back and actually has a bit of an edge in the matchup, forcing Caps to TP first.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just disappointed Targamas didn't go for it and, you know, hopped in towards that Hextech photo bait like the world champion Beryl did, but unfortunately, it'll only be Caps who's opted in towards Electrocute this game.
Unfortunate. I'd love to see a full AP Alistar. Remember the good old days where he could sheen prop people mid-air and he would play top lane for that?
I don't think those are the good old days.
Hey, as a support main, I could play top for like a match, man. It was great. Kana getting forced back here by Broken Blade, but to see the damage from the Flame Spitter as Kana gets overheated. Broken Blade, obviously, in this matchup will have that magic shield, which makes it a little bit harder for Kana to win the extended trades, but for the moment, doing a good job. About even on CS.
It's also because when Galio was reworked a little bit, so much of his power went into his auto attack that the base damage is just absolutely insane. So trying to take these trades whenever the shield is up, it doesn't even matter if you have a huge amount of mana. You can just as punch in and immediately get the hit and walk back out into a massive chunk of the health bar. So Broken Blade perfectly fine here. About to tick over to 6 as well, and which should be available then for a potential group fight if it happens. Skewmon won't be as quick to the level 6 as he would like though because of that initial invade, as KC trying to put pressure on towards Caps, but LeBron reading it well.
Neutral objectives, both on the map. Well, Cloud Drake up, but normally we'd see that rotation of the bot lane towards top if they want to contest those grubs, but both seem to be set in their ways for the time being. Kana taking a decent amount of damage on the top side as he ticks over to level 6. He's going to invest this ulti early. I think it's risky. It really does hurt your ability to contest things like the grubs if you're interested in them.
My brother was looking for Targamas for a couple of moments there. Skewmon's only just ticked over to level 5, so it doesn't have the ability to just jump in with the paranoia, but you can see both these supports really working on tracking each other. Shadowing Strike out from LeBron. He's going to need to jump this wall. We'll still get the shield, and takes about half his health. A little bit overextended as Targamas and Yike were able to move together towards that fight.
Still though, LeBron should be able to follow up reasonably well. He still has the pot that he can tick and make his health bar nice and chunky again. And you still got the shield that you can get off of the crash down. So an opportunity if they want to try and go for the contest here, but it looks like for G2 they're happy to just catch the wave and give Skewmon a bit of a chance to get more of these camps and potentially hit that level 6 before they go for the Void Group contest, but none of his camps are up, so maybe a late contest.
I mean, it's only down to 3,000 HP right now. LeBron and Hans Summer get the wave in bot lane. At the moment, Vladdy is the first to move from mid. Caps can start to move across, go between worlds on the back of this fight. G2 kind of watching the Drake go down in their faces right now at 1,000 HP. Engaged from Targamas. Caps forced away by Vladdy. Lebrov looking to get the engage, and Skewmon going on to Yike immediately, and the smite goes down, and Skewmon gets first kill. Targamas falls for the second. G2 collapse perfectly to find the first 2 kills in the neutral.
Skewmon just gets everything there. Walks up as Targamas committed his engage onto the other side of the fight. Kalist looking for a pick, won't be able to find it. 2 kills secured for G2, the first dragon of the game, and what felt like great control, great setup from KC. They end up fumbling in the execution.
And the problem for KC now is we've already seen Targamas has started to path down towards bot lane to make sure that there wasn't a possible dive onto Kalist. Skewmon can take his Razor Beaks and get 6, whereas Yike is still going to be level 5. Lebrov has first move to the grubs, so the next neutral is going to be even harder to fight.
And this is where you can see as Caps came in, Vladdy rotated up to try and push him out. Stone gets in on towards Targamas, but they've called in onto Lebrov. Now Yike is overextended. Skewmon just immediately runs down, and it's a good engage from Lebrov onto Targamas. Again, this cow was only level 3. Hadn't got that level up because he'd spent so much time chasing Lebrov around, so just not getting as much value out of it. And it's the Scuttle Crab now that ticks Skewmon over to 6, and there's just no contest from KC once more.
I mean, the truth is that Victor and Zeri really don't have a lot of damage early.
Yep.
But I don't actually think that was the biggest consequence. The biggest consequence is the fact that Yike flashed thinking he would get out of range of the Fear Tether, but he didn't. And so then he's getting hit by the Dragon, by the Nocturne, and yeah, it's just it's an awkward situation to turn around. So ends up being a big win for G2 in themselves out of. Again, the scaling elements that KC have could definitely prove valuable later on into the game. But for now, it's G2 that have that control.
And G2 have had the control in the head versus head across the years as well. 5-1. This is only including Riot official games, not including the Red Bull League of their own. But for KARMINE Corp, it's been a bit of a struggle. The one game they have won between the two teams was at the start of this year, and I think a lot of people looked at it as perhaps the sign of a new era in the KARMINE Corp G2 rivalry, which is only excited rightly about KARMINE Corp generally at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, and about the league, especially given that G2 felt like that they were slumping, they had new members that they need to figure out how they fit into the system. Seems like it didn't take them very long. And speaking of, Labrov made his way mid.
Vladdy does have the flash, dodges the Shadowing Strike, but still hit with the crash down. Won't have to burn his summoner for this. Trading back onto Caps. Gravity Field will get the stun here. Yike coming in with a cease and desist. And Caps was greedy with his path thing. Vladdy and Yike punish him.
I mean, Vladdy is just clean with it. Beautiful movement. He bought more than enough time for the KC support crew to come in and set up for a kill. He doesn't end up getting it. They hand that over to Yike, but ultimately KC get themselves on the board.
And I think there's been so much talk about Kalist. Vladdy kind of gets overlooked at times, and this guy has been spectacular. I know a lot of people started to see his worth at the end of last year, but now in this year, he has really stepped up to despite the game one not going their way.
Oh, especially on the Victor as well. He's died 5 times over 4 games. Averages, I'm going to do some very quick maths, like 7 kills per game as well. He's been on absolute form, hasn't lost on the pick this year. Caps getting punished in the mid lane for a little bit of greedy pathing as well, back into that gravity well, still getting rooted up by it. Skumon does have the Experimenter Hex Plate now, can look for that paranoia. So far, his focus has been mostly about getting to that level 6 and then playing around those neutral objectives.
Oh, might be looking mid though.
Vladdy still has flash here. They're just going to burn it out of him. The fear comes down. Skumon backs away before that proc tethers.
And it's not the end of the world to burn that a minute before the next Dragon fight, right? Because again, we kind of highlighted at the start, the target for G2 is going to be Vladdy. Without Flash, he is way more vulnerable to Skumon, the Broken Blades combo, having Caps been able to jump in onto that backline. So I think that's a lot of where that next focus will be for G2. And it may be on KC to just go, no, we're not looking at Dragon. We're instead going to just try and match Void Grubs, make a play towards that top tower instead, and trying to avoid these fights where we're still looking to scale into this game.
Yeah, very much agree. We'll see what direction KC end up choosing. And they're going to have to choose fast. We look at the minimap, we can see Alistar making his way towards the mid lane. Vladdy going to path towards bot, and it looks like Kalist is going to be heading towards mid. So at the very least, they've set their sights on getting mid lane control. The fact that Hansam is moving to bot means that G2 will have an access into the river through their bot lane 2 versus 2. Labrov quickly out on the map. We've heard the analyst desk talking about how he likes to back early so that he can quickly get his way out already.
Look away, Hans has just pushed this out without any vision at all. He thought he was safe because Labrov saw Targamas, but Hans is in for a world of hurt right now. The collapse can come out. Hans Summer just on the edge of the Vault Breaker there. That could have been disastrous for G2. KARMINE Corp collapse well. Caps put some damage back into Kalista. TP coming out from Karna as well as he's going to join the fight. Caps now on the wrong side of the rift. Does have the flash, can jump across the wall as well. Paranoia out from Skumon. And now in the middle of the pit, Skumon dives in onto Yike, who tries to dive onto Hans Summer. The killer into the barrier. The equalizer's enough. Yike gets the kill. Caps, though, starting to collapse with the rest of G2. Yike will fall. Targamas goes low. The ignite ticking on him. The stun landing from Vladdy as Labrov falls as well. KARMINE Corp find 2 and should be able to get the Dragon off this as well.
It was a bit of a scramble, but KC are able to come out on top. Yike immediately getting that lock up, but they kind of follow. Oh no!
Oh, it's a disaster for everyone. The taunt goes out onto Targamas in the end. The Winds of War will kill him. Okay, okie dokie.
It happens. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Ultimately, Broken Blade still got the kill. And what was largely a one-team fight for KC, they'll have to back off. They'll concede the Dragon. But let's look back at this scrap.
Yeah, it's a bit all over the joint because you can see Caps is eyeing up Kalist. Kalist runs away from Vision to make sure that he's going to be out of position, but that's where Skumon immediately jumps in onto the two members of KC that are there. But it's a good follow-up from Kana with that ultimate to get the pick. Now everyone at G2 tries to turn on towards the Ike and Targamas, but Kalist, fair play to him here, goes over half HP, knowing that there's very little that actually threaten him on the backside of this fight, and they're able to get that fight. But unfortunately then Targamas picked off at the end of it.
I really just love that target focus from Yike. Very decisive, very quick, and the great thing about it is Labrov, who was zoning off the three members of KC, he then tried to help his AD carry, which then just gave them easy access into the fight. So ultimately, great execution. Vladdy, remember, no flash on him.
Kana's on his way, though. Doesn't have the equalizer, but Vladdy immediately turns it onto Skumon. He has to flash away, and with the Electro Harpoons hitting his back, Vladdy has been on absolute fire so far this game. 0-0-3 on the scoreline, but his gravity fields have been locking G2 in place.
I mean, I feel like Vladdy sees into the Arcane with how he's navigating his way out of these ganks. He gets the support from Kana, he's able to find the outplay, and he remains deathless in this game too.
Yeah, he's been having an absolutely exceptional game, and again, KC have been benefiting massively off it, in a position now where they can actually set him up on a side lane, keep the pressure there. Kana, though,
doesn't have flash, and Labrov's on his way across. There's the taunt. Labrov's still chasing forward. Kana has the movement speed from the scrap shield, but the flash shattering strike, equalizer coming out as well. Magnastorm to pull Kana back. Do they have the damage? They're tanky enough, but Kana tries to burn them.
No
back.
way!
Broken blade! Oh my god, that was as close as can be. G2 limp away with the kill.
Broken Blade had to go through 2 full rotations, and he had to tank like 4 tower shots, but just barely. They had enough damage between the two of them. G2 find themselves another pick onto Kana, but in terms of the map state, I don't know if it really changes much. The Herald's going to be spawning in a minute's time. I'll quickly check if Broken Blade's ulti will be up in time. I don't think it will be.
That's the thing, right? Because they end up investing all that on bot side, I actually think it hurts G2. I think they wanted a quick kill into tower take, so then they had that numbers advantage on the map, but because they don't get it, well, now you've invested a huge amount for this play, but you won't have it for a potential play on the top side. And look, Kana survives for so long here, ends up getting the scrap shield, doesn't actually end up blowing through to overheat, so he can consistently get access to that scrap shield when he needs it, and then it's the slow just at the end there, and a good tank from Labrov and Broken Blade end up having it work. But it's this next fight I'm now worried about for G2.
I mean, in the end, the damage they had there was Hollow Radiance on Broken Blade, which isn't the most powerful at bursting down a target. Meanwhile, we're going to see the Paranoia coming out, and that's a lot more powerful at killing someone off. Kana dies in the side lane. Skumon there at the right time as Kana was stepping forward. The Rift Herald is available in 5 seconds. I doubt G2 will want to fight around it. It looks like they're trying to target the first turret instead.
It was a good call from Kana, though. He turned on towards the wave immediately and killed it, so now that push is delayed from G2. Should be in a position where Kana can actually TP down into that bottom side and protect that turret before Broken Blade can make his way through it. Whereas now KC are putting pressure on towards this top side, as you know that Skumon has no ultimate to try and defend, but I think it's more just an empty threat as Yike wants to take the Rift turret.
I think from Labrov is good as he looks to cover Caps on the top side. The threat of a dive is very real, especially given that G2 was expecting the Herald to be started off by KC. Vladdy is ramping up very quickly, has the Seraphs.
Yeah, let's talk about where we are in terms of items and spikes. Kalist has about a 500 gold lead, already has that Yuntal complete. Obviously, the feats of strength going over to G2, so a small advantage for them there. But across the board, about an item apiece in every main carry role.
Pretty much a very even game state. Quite the contrast to what we had in game 1. Nice to see that KC was able to kind of slow the pace of the game down and not be thrown into the chaos that G2 is trying to enact early on. When we think about how these teams want to interact with their composition, remember G2 have a lot of dive. The basic combination is Rel ultimate and Galio ultimate. I mean, you saw it in bot lane onto the Rumble, but just imagine doing that onto multiple members of KC. That's why burning Vladdy's flash, as Dagdo was talking about earlier, can be very valuable, because when he doesn't have any form of mobility to get out of that situation, it makes it much easier to set up that quick kill and convert it into a one-team fight.
And that's why for KC, you're happy coming up to this next Dragon fight in 30 seconds, because you have all of those flashes coming up and available. You have Vladdy, who should have his TP available to get down into this bottom side as well, and it makes things a little bit more difficult for G2. You can even see KC just trying to play to at least have one access route into this river, because in a front to back, I think things are kind of okay for KC. As Broken Blade and Skewmond alone can't really kill people at this stage.
I think that KC's biggest strength of their composition is the scaling. We know how effective Zeri and Victor can be in the late game. And I mean, that Victor ultimate, single kill, the storm only continues to grow and its impact becomes unrelenting. Things have come down.
It's a difficult fight for G2. Yeah. KARMINE have done a really good job of setting up vision here. You can see Camp's actually TPing behind the Dragon right now. Broken Blade has that Hero's Entrance. The Paranoia is first. Caps dives in. Hero's Entrance going in as well. Isn't going to land a knock-up. Targum has got a 4-man towards the top side. Caps has been forced away. Broken Blade in the middle of the pit, tanking everyone. Targum is going to die. The Equalize will clip on Summer. Broken Blade falls as well. Yike trying to step forward. Will land the smite. Now G2 are separated. Hans Summer's down towards the bottom side, limping through the river, through the jungle. Kalist trying to get the damage and will kill off Targamas. Now Rift Herald put down by KC.
G2 ended up trying to jump onto Kalist, and he was happy to pounce his way on out of there and continue through the fight. That combo not working for G2, and now KC gets so much off the back.
The idea is to utilize the Nocturne ultimate to allow Caps to find the flank. And so watch how this fight starts. But look at the target selection. Caps goes in, immediately gets chain CC'd by the mid-jungle duo of KC. They force him out. He doesn't even get to ulti. Now Broken Blade is isolated in the Dragon Pit, while the AD carry is diving onto the Alistar. All of the damage disappears. KC can utilize this 4-man strong unit to turn the fight around, and they force G2 out. KC get the Dragon, they get themselves 2 kills, they get good damage onto the mid tower. And I think for the first time in this series, the momentum is very much swinging in favor of KC.
Damage so good, they actually killed off that mid-tier 1. They get some damage on the tier 2 as well. Kalist getting his 2nd kill of the game, taking down LeBron at the end of the fight. And now, as you say, KARMINE very much on the front foot. Only about 1,000 gold lead for them. And you can see what G2's composition wants to do. If that Hero's Entrance from Broken Blade is a little bit later, if it's on Caps on the back line, perhaps things would have changed.
But the thing is, you are on a bit of a ticking clock with G2, because you'll get a Zhonya's Hour class for Vladdy. Makes that combo way less of a threat for him. Kalist has a lot of that mobility built into the kit, especially around the walls at these objective fights. So I think for G2, you need these early plays to start landing, and they need to start happening very soon.
Oh, the Artican, a possible fight. Tend to see teams wait for a neutral objective to be up to fight around it. It's 3 minutes on the Drake and 4 minutes on the Baron, so I think maybe we have a little while before that big 5v5 team fight again. Targamas and Vladdy will spot out Labrov, who's trying to get some vision of his own. Targamas just with a headbutt away. Excuse me, sir, this is my jungle. You could kindly acquiesce to leaving the premises right now, that would be great. Both of you are like, it's the lull before the storm. It's the calm moment where everyone's like, okay, game's close this time.
I mean, I was largely just thinking about what both teams want to do next, because, I mean, if you're KC, there's still outer towers that you'd love to play for. The easier one is probably on the top side of the map, but right now their vision is, and their lane assignments are better set up for the bot side. And the problem is G2's kind of getting ahead of them. You can already see, look at the side lanes. Kana can't afford to move up too far because he doesn't know where the Nocturne is. Playing on these side lanes is very dangerous with Skewmont's ability to quickly collapse on you. So you kind of have to stack like KC is doing right now, where they play heavily through one side, and G2's just matching, making it harder for KC to actually contest these objectives. Now, though, they push them back a little bit. That bot tower is very low and prime for the taking, and KC would love to try and grab it.
And it's really hard for KC to try and play around this top side while Adacon's up, because if Skewmont turns off the lights, he also turns off Kana's ability to teleport, which makes it really difficult for you to contest, whereas Broken Blade has the TP, he also has that ultimate, he has multiple ways to get into the fight, and you can even look at the pathing that Broken Blade is taking to that top side. He's wandering always close to that bottom side, so he has that ultimate available if he needs to. Now he shows in the top wave, he disappears into Fog of War, and you continue that threat for G2.
Yeah, unless you see Broken Blade as KARMINE, it's really hard to pull the trigger, because you know he can always be there. Alongside that, Caps is at 2 items and 1,000 gold ahead. Like, if you're not killing this Aurora quickly, if he gets an ult off in a fight, it's donezo for a lot of this backline. They are still very squishy, even though they have been able to get ahead in some of these roles. KARMINE now pathing back towards mid to gain the prio. You can see he was pushed out by Hans Summer. He's been accepting the wave a little bit further, a little bit deeper, because he doesn't have a tier 1, which is why KARMINE get a little bit more push there, and then can move in the river a bit more freely.
It's also the investment of Kana in towards the mid lane, so they invested him there to clear out the wave, which meant he lost the wave on top side. The Broken Blade was pushing in, but it's whenever you see Kana on this top side of the map, I want you to keep your eyes on Broken Blade, right? Because at the moment he's just disappeared into that fog of war. All he wants to do is
Caps has been
concentrate.
tripped up. He tries to get away, but the shutdown goes out. The cease and desist into Arcane Storm combination enough, and we talked about how Caps could be a nuisance. Well, Carmine Core put him in his place. Lebrov will join him in the grave, and now Artican is begun.
Just fantastic timing from Yike. Just as Caps face checks the brush, he is there ready to ulti him. Vladdy crucially gets those 2 kills as well, so a lot of gold just invested into his pocket. He secures the bot tower as well. The Rumble ultimate committed into mid. G2 can't trade anything back. They're trying to get the tier 2 in top, but Vladdy continues his push.
Yeah, and he's even, looks like, going to TP up to that top side to make sure that you can't get any more as Broken Blade. So massive pick for KC, and it comes off the back of Caps just overextending into that tri-brush that a little bit too far.
And now they have the false life for not only the Dragon spawn, but also the Baron spawn if they want to fight around it. G2, 2,000 gold in the hole. Leads for Kalist. He's almost at his 3rd item. Void Staff and Seraph's complete for Vladdy. They don't quite have that cease and desist Arcane Storm combination back up, nor the equalizer, but as soon as they do, you feel Carmine Core will be ready to pull the trigger.
Vladdy starting to walk down, so G2 trying to see if they can burst out this dragon before he arrives, but now you have to take the 5v5 as Vladdy's shown up, and that ultimate is not quite up cooldown, it's just there.
On the flank.
No cease and desist yet. 7 seconds before that one comes back up. Yike tries to dive in, Targamas dives in as well. Skewmon forced down to half HP, the flash away from Broken Blade, and Caps will force Targamas to withdraw, but Carmine Core got the prize they were looking for. Cease and desist in as Caps is locked up once again. The hero's entrance. You're diving into your demise, Broken Blade. He tries to land the taunt on Summer, putting the damage down across the fight, but now he's the one locked up by G2. He manages to take out 2 with him, but there's only false lives. Vladdy stepping forward, dodges away from the Shadowing Strike.
30-second death timer on Caps. Over 30 seconds for Hansama, but the Baron is available in 10. I think KC can just make a beeline towards it, force this objective, and force with numbers advantage, and with a few members still having the false life available. I mean, this seems like the easiest play for KC, and they can just keep riding this momentum.
Feels a little risky because Vladdy's base has been stopped and he doesn't have the teleport. So you do have a position here where you can go for this, but Broken Blade is already working his way up towards it. Caps has TP in 2 seconds. If they pulled the trigger right now, maybe there's a window, but Caps is already in top lane.
Yeah, I do think that with Broken Blade having low mana and low engage, you can try and fight this.
Lebrov knocked back Targamas. Already in position, and Lebrov will fall. Well played by KC. Targamas, I think, Hex splashed across the wall to get in there.
I think it was just the threat of the Baron forcing the TP and Caps on ward.
Yeah, Targamas finds him again with the Hex splash, and Caps is down. A moment ago, we were talking about how far ahead he was. Now he's 800 gold in the hole, and Carmine Core turn their eyes towards the Baron.
The thing about the threat of the Baron is it got the TP out from Caps. It got G2 to haphazardly approach the Baron so that they had information and vision. And because they were slightly broken apart in terms of their setup, KC found picks, and they might be looking for more.
Targamas constantly finding people here. Skewmon dodges the stun with his Shroud of Darkness. The Baron will go over to Carmine Core though. Skewmon looking, see perhaps if he can get across to his red. Yike coming in across the wall here. And Lebrov, you only just got back to life. Take a nap, son. Targamas puts him in the dirt.
Hansama's on the bottom side of the map, so KC are like, great, you try and contest any of the vision on this top side, we're going to take you down and we're going to take your towers with you. KC are running through G2 in this game too.
KC, a single pick on the Caps, and now Hansama in a lot of danger.
Hans has the killer instinct, will dodge away from the equalizer. Kana realizes he can't really trade now because of the range advantage the Kai'Sa has. The tier 2 in the top lane does fall though for Carmine Core. Now a 6,000 gold lead for them 27 minutes in.
And it's been great from KC to really understand how this G2 composition plays. It is so combo reliant. We keep talking about it, but KC, by forcing the Baron, are just saying, look, you don't have the Galio ult, you don't have the Nocturne ult, you have no threat for our backline. So Vladdy and Kalist get to do what they want every time we are coming into these fights, and KC have done a phenomenal job of setting up the map in a way that nullifies everything G2 are trying to do.
I mean, and it's just crazy to think how they just waited for a specific point. They needed those item breakpoints, and really we haven't seen I mean, I would say that it wasn't a big fight that broke open the game. It was that single pick onto Caps in the bot side of the map. After finding that double kill, they got so much off the back of it.
The Brock dives in immediately onto Kalista. They're looking for the CC. He flashes the wall, though, and Skumon tries to follow him. He doesn't win that fight. Kana pops his stopwatch, buys himself a second in the middle of G2. Yike chasing Skumon down towards the bottom side. G2 retreating up towards the top, and Skumon is going to fall. Kalista will take him. The Shield of Duran with the stun. The route down to Targamas. He's going to escape, though. Broken Blade tries to get close enough, but there's no justice in the world that saves you there. G2 lose 3 again, and KARMINE CORP are knocking on the door.
G2 are desperate, and KC know that. They are constantly in a position to match them, and Kalist just skates away, and KC are skating over G2.
Vladdy looking to continue his winning ways with the picks. He's had fancy feats, many outplays, and now KC find themselves at the doorstep of the nexus of G2.
Arcane Storm onto Caps, just forcing him back to the fountain. The equalizer will follow! And Caps dies! There is no place safe for G2 as KARMINE CORP land a punch in this best of 5.